Okay, here we go on the Dipole project. This is what we came up with. We went to the plumbing supply big box store. This is a 1 1/4 inch PVC T. I don't know if you can read it on there. It's 1 1/4. Got it on Telemacro. Okay. Now, plumbing pipe, I'll mention from the starter. Plumbing pipe is always measured the inside diameter of the pipe. Like say this is 1 inch. It's 1 inch on the inside, not outside. So it gets kind of confusing. Well, this is the closest I can come up with. This is 1 1/2 inch here. This is like 1/8 of an inch over. We will shim this up. We won't be going in here. We'll be staying out here. Because we want this dipole mounted on this is about 4 feet of pipe. It's going to be away from the tower mast. I wouldn't recommend transiting that way, but if you put the antenna horizontal, which I'll explain later, you're not going to talk to the guys that are vertical very well. Great for listening, though. You don't get all the static when you're horizontal. But back to the subject at hand. I'm not really want to hurry through this, but before the noise and commotion in the neighborhood starts in, it's nice and quiet right now. Okay, I will take up the slack on this. Plastic, aluminum, whatever, there'll be a bolt through here. Okay, now this is what I came up with. Let stuff fall down. Okay, here's my elements. I made 2 of these. They're 8 1/2 foot. That makes a half wave CB antenna, because 8 1/2 is a quarter wave, 102 inches. We decided to tune this at 27 megahertz because I don't want to make it any longer, because I want to be able to listen to the best of my ability to 10 meter ham. I have a radio that's 10 meter ham, that's 28 megahertz. I'll still be able to hear the stuff way below channel 1 on the CB. This is 7/8, okay? Now what we come up with, this is 1 inch. We'll take the slop out of that too. This is the best we can come up with. How this is going to work is, we got these reducers. They go into 1 1/4. And these are down to 1 inch. Okay, there's a groove down in here. See that groove? We're going to grind that out with our Dremel. Our Dremel with the sanding drum. I'm sure I got plenty of videos, but in case somebody just tuned to this one. We're going to sand that out. Like stones, just like aluminum, they'll just clog with plastic. Okay, these are going to go in here like this. Okay? We're trying to take up the slack. And these are very economical. I have to slip somewhere. These were like less than $1. This is probably $1.50. This is only $1 something. This is gray, outdoor, whatever. This is stronger than the white plastic. This stuff's pretty tough. I mean, this you almost think this is a piece of steel pipe when you smack it on something. We'll probably leave the threads. We don't care what it looks like. But the whole idea is to put this inside of here. Okay. Kind of hard to get this on camera because I'm on Telemacro. This will be running inside of here. It'll be going through the reducers. We have to grind out a little bit to get it to fit, because it hits that notch in there. I'm not going to pound on there. We're just going to grind that notch out. So what we'll come up with, this is a foot. Okay, we're going to space our elements a little ways apart. And in the finished picture, I'll have that marked out and explain it. We want a little gap between our elements. We want our elements, say, want our bolt about right here. We'll probably stop our plastic. We'll probably stop our element right in there somewhere. Let's see if I can tilt the camera up just a hair. Okay. We won't have our elements too close. We're going to have them a few inches apart. But we're going to probably be about right in here, because we want to go through this, about a 1/2 inch in. So it's going to give us a couple inches. I haven't measured this exactly. This is like 4 1/4. So if we leave a 2 inch gap, we're going to be like about in 1 inch. So our screws will go about in 1/2 inch in. So we're going to have a couple inches between the top and bottom element. Okay, so this will all be together inside. These will be in here. We're not going to use any glue. We're just going to use a couple screws to hold this together. We'll put a couple of zip screws or something in there. And another thing on stuff. If you want a rivet to hold something and you're going through plastic, you can squeeze your rivet just a small amount, then cut the shank off with a Dremel tool. I may do that and make it easier, because I don't want to be getting into, like, say, what's in here. But I ain't too worried, because these are going to be shoved inside of here. not going to be glued. Trying to explain as best I can. Now when the pieces are right in front of us instead of the picture standing away with it all done. So this will be going through there. This will be plenty of salt. This is a foot. This is going to give you, what do we figure? If it's a foot long one and 2-inch gap, the elements will be in here like 5 inches. That's going to be plenty strong, which here's the element. Here's like, I think I showed that. Little slop. We'll have something wrapped around it. We might put some masking tape or something around it. And then what we'll do is we'll seal it off. We'll go ahead and put some electrical tape on there. It's no biggie. If it gets moisture, if you tape up some stuff, you'd kind of rather have it out in the open, let it dry out. And then our coaxial cable, you'll be putting, I'll be showing that. Your braid will go to the bottom and your hot will go to the top. So we're going to have some nice bolts in here. Some of those crimp-on ring terminals be right uptown. So this is the most major problem, because the next size smaller was too small, the next size up was too big. So we can figure out the slot. I have a square piece of metal that bolts to the mast. It's off an old beam antenna, which will allow me to bolt this pipe horizontally to a vertical mast. So it's a square with four muffler clamps, which we'll be showing in the end there. But I can figure out this problem. I will wrap plastic, something, aluminum, no tin. I don't want anything that rust corrode. Aluminum pop can, plastic, anything to take up this slack. So when I put a bolt through it, it's nice and solid. And it won't go into here. It'll be out here, of course. I know it's a little blurry on telemacro. So it'll be out in here. But I wanted to show these up close. And this is a 1 1/4 inch T. Show the reducers down to 1 inch. Which if you bought 1 inch pipe to glue in, which this would be about the same outer size, because 1 inch they're going by the inside where the water flows. So this is 1 inch piece, 12 inch long. It won't show up in focus. You'll see these. It's called a riser. 1 inch by 12 inch PVC riser. For outdoor use only. Well, I don't know what they mean by that. Just, I'd use it in the basement or somewhere. But codes are codes. 1 1/4 inch T. Reducers from 1 1/4 inch down to 1 inch. And these are slipped to be glued on, not threaded. I did look at some threaded pieces, which this would have fit through, but I wouldn't have no support. I want to support this as tough as I can. Like I said, if that's only in there 5 inches, that's going to make this antenna pretty darn tough. This stuff feels like steel. It's got some weight to it too. It's a heavy, thick-walled. It's probably better than Schedule 40 white plastic pipe. I'm not a plumber. I just play one on YouTube. But so much for this part. We don't want to make these videos too long, but I wanted to explain some of the pieces I'm using up close. Even if it's blurry, we're on telemacro here, and you're not going to see the writing. But that way I don't have to make a big list of the parts. People, what's he talking about? 1 1/4 inch T, put a reducer down to 1 inch, buy the 1 inch piece of plastic in here, or whatever your elements were. But that's the way it turned out. Say your elements were smaller than mine, which are 7/8. Well, you could go ahead and still find something to reduce this down. But it's about $5 worth of stuff. $1.50, under $1 for these, only $1 or something. Real cheap. Don't need no glue. It's gonna be all bolted together. So, hope I didn't ramble too long on this one. But I'd rather put this stuff in here than just showing this is what I build and you figure it out. So I try to give some detail. But thanks for watching. If you want to make one of these, if you have any questions or comments, I can always even make another little short video of somebody was attempting this and they needed to see something. Never had no problem doing that. A dipole is fun. It's a cheap way to make a CB antenna if you can come across a piece of aluminum. You could have used water pipe. You could go by the 3/4 or whatever copper pipe, which is about 7/8 on the outside, because it's always the inside. The 3/4 where the water flows. So you can use 8.5 foot of copper water pipe, the big stuff. Or you can reduce it down like I did on my aluminum. So you got a slip joint to tune it. because you're supposed to tune these. A lot of times they'll come out almost perfect, 102 inches, 102 inches. But you could get another size inside. Use your imagination. So you could tune it up and down. Make some slots in it, a couple slots, and use hose clamps. So everything's available at your big plumbing places. So you can get the copper pipe too. Maybe I'll make one maybe someday if I like this, I'll go ahead and make another video and buy everything all again and make one for somebody. There might be somebody who might be interested in mine and make one out of copper pipe. It's going to corrode, but you could spray that with clear lacquer. It'd look nice for a couple of years. This one's entirely too long. This will probably be a video in itself and won't be added to another one. But thanks for watching.